Hola, thank you for coming out today. My name is Abishai, and today I'm going to be discussing my mission trip to Honduras in 2019. So you know a little bit more about me. My hobbies include amateur photographer, award-winning junior chef, and the homeschool version of Indiana Jones. So now that you know the basics of my presentation, let's dive in. As we start our journey, allow me to introduce you to our team. First off, we have Marissa. Now, let me tell you, she might look like a city girl, but when you put her in a situation like this, in an environment like this, she's incredibly adventurous, as well as spiritually gifted in the way that she talks to people. This one time, we needed to start a fire so we could burn some bush leaves, because we were cleaning up an area. But we didn't have any matches or lighters. And so everybody was asking around, and it was her who actually came up, and she brought us a tube of chapstick and said, if you light this on fire, it'll work. And so we lit a bush fire with this little tube of chapstick that she brought along. So her little handy tips like that came in very handy to me. Second, we have Zoe, which is Marissa's sister. Now, this girl, might add, is 12. She has the maturity, however, of a 20-year-old. And on top of that, she is incredibly athletic, which makes her an overall perfect teammate to have in a place like this, especially with small children who love to run and play. Third, we have Shanoa. Now, this woman is incredibly inspirational. You could spend only 5 minutes with her, and you come out with a whole new outlook. She was a huge part of the VBS program, which we did for the children. I'll tell you more about that later on. Fourth, we have Seth. This guy is absolutely hilarious. Fun fact, he's actually been going on this mission trip with our church since he was in 6th grade. And he's now graduated high school, but he's been going for a very long time. His skill, however, was with the VBS kids, as well as Shanoa. He could keep these kids entertained with, no joke, with a stick and a rope for hours. It was incredible. Fifth, we have Bree. Now, I don't even know where to start with her, but I should say that her voice, she's a beautiful singer. It's no short of a gift from God. It's incredible to hear her sing. And lastly, we have the leaders of the group, which are Miss Jenna and Miss Samantha, the blue shirt and the white shirt. These women were our lifelines. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to get anywhere in Honduras. They made sure that we stayed safe and responsible, and that was quite a difficult job with all of us being teenagers. When we were in the airport, me and Seth actually started getting on the back of our suitcases, and we would roll each other around, just one in front of the other. We'd keep pushing each other like leapfrog. And despite this, they completed this monumental task of keeping us safe with flying colors. We owe basically our lives to them over there. And now that you know who I am and who I was with, let's find out where we went. Honduras is 1,357 miles away from here in Myrtle Beach. This amounts to a monumental 59-hour drive. Or the more suitable option that we took, which was a 2-hour flight from Charleston to Atlanta. Then we took a 7-hour flight from Atlanta to Tegucigalpa, which was the capital of Honduras. Landing in the city, you could see everything you would normally see in a city. They had gas stations, movie theaters, random guys in the street trying to sell you their mixtapes. But best of all, they had Popeyes. As you can see, also, instead of a Hollywood sign, that right there is a huge Coca-Cola sign. So that was also a large part of their livelihood. Now, after arriving in the capital and eating a nice American meal at Popeyes, we gathered our bags and met up with the money handler. As the name implies, he handled our monetary needs. For instance, I exchanged 40 USD, or $40, to 985 lempiras, which was the national currency of Honduras. And I know that seems really crazy. The conversion actually comes out to about $1 to 24 lempiras. From there, after getting all our monetary stuff, we loaded on a bus for a 5-hour bus ride to the village, which is called Los Olivos. This bus ride was very interesting, to say the least. We saw SWAT teams, Catholic revivals, water parks, even herds of animals going down the street. We saw bulls, pigs, goats, sheep. Every now and then you'd see a herd of chickens going down the road. If you could name it, we probably saw it in the street. The best part of the bus ride was to be able to see the income. You could see the difference driving out of the city where we landed into the lower income areas. All the way into the villages where there was nothing but small houses and buildings and fields of corn, wheat, and beans. That was pretty much their entire crop. Now, proceeding our bus trek, we arrived in the village. It was in the evening though, so first we slept. Then the day after, we started our week-long journey. Along this week, we had 2 main jobs. Our first job was repairing houses and buildings. This was due to the poor quality of supplies that could be delivered to the villages because they're so far out from the industrial areas like the city. And since they couldn't do it themselves, the ministry we went with bought and delivered the supplies, like concrete mix, roofing, and nails. Because nails were very important. As you can see, those are literally cut down trees. They use trees to support their houses. And they brought them to us. This is where we came and we installed them. As you can see, that is not very safe. We were standing under it mainly because of the shade. When we got there, it was over 100 degrees. So it was very hot. At one point, I was leaning over the edge there. That looks like solid ground, but it's actually, it's a flat ground and then it dips right into the field. So me and my friend, he held on to me and I would lean out and hammer the nails into the side over there. It was quite interesting, to say the least. For most of the week, I helped lay concrete floors for churches, houses, and schools. This was mainly for the kids because they wanted to improve their style, that way they could grow up in a better environment. An interesting story actually though is one of the Honduran men, this man right here, standing over here, laying this concrete floor, he told one of our translators the night before this, so the night before we come to a professional building where they spent thousands of dollars building it up, he says that before this, he had never laid concrete in his life. He learned everything he did to build that from a YouTube video he watched the night before we went there. It completely surprised me, mainly because he was laying concrete like a professional. I mean, he would rope it out, he would measure it, everything a normal concrete guy would do, he did from one YouTube video. And from there, as I briefly mentioned earlier, our second job during this week was VBS. Now this was purely for the kids in the village to help teach them about and understand the love and mercy of God. This was the best time I've ever spent with kids ministry, no doubt. I've never had such a heart-touching moment with children, with teaching children. Kids here in the U.S. are spoiled, so to speak. They always want more. They're never happy with what they've been given. But these kids had nothing. Nothing but the clothes on their back and the straw roof over their head. But somehow, they were content. They were happy. Not only this, they were downright joyful. No matter what we did, they were always happy. You never see one of these kids in a bad mood, ever. They don't just live under these circumstances either. they thrive, they grow. And due to this fact, they are open to hope, to feel like there is something in control of their life. Not to mention, not many people can say that they taught VBS on top of a mountain. This right here was the border of the mountain. This was a dip, kind of went off into a rock slide, and then the other side was fields and fields of corn and beans. That's where it all started. It seems like it never ends. As far as the eye can see, just beans, wheat, and corn. There's truly no better place to teach hope and peace, though, than on top of a mountain. While we were on top of this mountain, we played volleyball, as you can see here in the back. It was more like hot potato, but since we didn't have any potatoes, because they only grew corn, we used a volleyball. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not a very good idea. If that's what you were thinking, then you would be correct. It was not a good idea. For instance, 2 of the kids' parents did not feel comfortable with us, which were the Honduran team, taking their kids up this mountain. But, so these parents, feeling inadequately safe with us, rode their 2 kids up on their mule or mini horse. We never really figured that out. This animal did not like people being near it. That it didn't know. It was okay with the family and just the 2 kids. So say, if by chance a volleyball were to roll near the back of said animal, that one innocent little child may walk up to the back of it without it knowing it's there to grab the volleyball. This child would be wrong. The animal proceeded to hop backward, jump on top of this kid, and it was very scary in that moment because this mule or mini horse or whatever it was had just jumped on top of a kid. Like everybody was just kind of shocked. So Seth, he acted all big and scary and made it stop jumping on this kid. And so it's clear, the kid was good. He was okay. He was actually better than okay. He jumped up, raised the ball above his head, and he said, "Lo tengo," which means "I have it." And he immediately ran back to playing. He didn't even skip a beat. It was incredible. The funniest part of this was we didn't knock the ball off the mountain. We didn't lose it in shrubbery or thorns or anything else down the mountain. We didn't even drop it in poop, like animal poop or anything. Instead, a kid got pounced on by a mystery animal. I mean, there's no better VBS day than that. This is a story that me and my friends still remind each other of today. Just when you think it can't get any crazier, we were in the middle of waiting on kids for VBS. Me and my friends were just kind of sitting around, chilling, waiting for these kids to come. But, as our normal, energetic teenage selves, we decided to catch a chicken. And once we caught it, every kid in the village was coming to try and pet it. So we had a very large audience when we finally caught hold of it. Once we finally caught it, it became more docile and everything, and so it stopped trying to peck our arms off. That was a hard time. Many of us had to use a few Band-Aids. And then after this, sadly I don't have any pictures, but on our way back to the village from the mountain, 4 of these kids came up to me and they said, "¿Cuántos puedes llevar?" And I was not good at Spanish, okay? So I could not understand what they were saying. But it was 4 of them, so I was like, oh, so it must be important. Maybe they're asking about God. Maybe this is my opportunity to teach them. And so I asked my translator, he looked at me and he said, "Do you really want to know what it means?" And I said, "I don't know, do I?" He looked at the kids, then looked back at me, and he said, "They want to know how many you can carry." Me thinking I was pretty strong, right? I said, I could carry a lot of something. So I said, "Carry a lot of what?" He looked back at the children, then back at me, and he said, "Children." My face immediately went black. I looked at the kids and I thought, if I run fast enough, they will catch me. What I failed to realize is that while I was thinking about it, the kids started surrounding me. 4 became 8, 8 became 12, 12 became 16, and suddenly, I was surrounded by a small army of little Honduran children that were ready to get carried up that mountain because they ain't about to run uphill. Let's just say this situation didn't go well for me. I ended up walking 3/4 of a mile but no, this was no ordinary 3/4 of a mile because obviously it's Honduras. You can't have something ordinary. No, I walked 3/4 of a mile up a hill with 5 kids hanging off of me. No joke, 5. Now, you might be wondering, how is this possible? 5? Well, I had one on my shoulder, one on this shoulder, one around my neck. Then I had one on my hand, or one on each arm. And so I had 5 kids. I looked like a scarecrow just walking up the hill real slowly. And it was grueling. I almost died after that. I was so tired. I've never been so tired in my life. Not working out, not even playing football. But these kids, they really get you. And they were really skinny, right? Because most of their food was just beans, corn, wheat. You know, tortillas, fajitas, whatever they wanted to eat. They were pretty skinny. But even feathers add up. Eventually. Someone looked at me and said I was a Honduran version of Voltron. It looked like I had like a megaformer on my shoulders. I was like a big robot walking up the hill. And now that you have that mental image in your head, let me continue explaining how the VBS worked. So each day, we gave the kids something new. We would take these different knickknacks, but to these kids, it was a lot more. Like for instance, you see in this photo, this is a scratch-off cross. So this thing's where you get this nice blacked-out object. In this case, these are all crosses. And you scratch them out, you get this nice color effect. And you can write what you want in it. Most of them wrote in Spanish, so couldn't really help them there, which was kind of sad. But these kids, it was so much more to them. Each of these little toys that we wouldn't consider anything more than a knickknack. Each of these little toys lit their world up. You could just see it in their faces. Like, look at that. She barely had any teeth, but you know she was smiling. In that moment, they didn't remember that their houses were made of sticks and stones, or that their parents had to work their whole lives to provide for them. All they knew in that moment was that God loved them, God cared for them, and God protected them. And that's what we came here to do. However, to make kids feel this good, we couldn't have done without our help from our Honduran support team. These people were from a ministry that we helped take things to Honduras. These were the people that bought the supplies and would send them to us so we could put them on the houses. These people were fluent in Spanish, athletic, as you can see, and had the best work ethic I've ever seen. They never stopped working. They just kept going. Especially in this 104 degree weather. They still worked. And they would run everywhere. I never saw one of them walk. They were either standing still, helping build something, or they were running, including playing soccer. A lot of soccer. And they were there every year to support us. So they would go ahead of us before our church would get there. And they would set up a village or the living spaces that we would need. And they also did ministry of their own. Some of these people, like Jennifer and Frank, they actually have a residence in Honduras. So part of the year they're in Honduras, actually living there, going out to these people. One of them came up to me the first day. It was this one. His name is Connor. He came up to me the first day and looked me in the eyes and said, have you been in the military? And now, my 14-year-old self said, no, sir. He said to me, you must be a photographer. At this time, I had just started taking photos, so I have no idea how he guessed this. But obviously, I had to make a good impression, right? Because I wanted to impress him, set a precedent for the rest of the week so that he respected me. So I looked him dead in his eyes, and I said, are you a wizard? No lie, this is what I said. And this was the moment that we started our very unique relationship. He gave me snacks, and I gave him a flashlight to use at night. We didn't really talk that much, but it was pretty great. We had this mutual respect for snacks and flashlights from that moment on. That's the thing though, we would hardly talk. I would just kind of walk up to him at night, put out my hand, he would get something out of his bag. It was usually crackers or a small bag of chips. And he'd put it there. I'd have my flashlight in his hand. I'd give that to him, and then boom. That's how we went out about the week. It was so funny. Out of all these people though, there are two and a dog that stand out above the rest. First, we have Edmundo. Now, he might look super serious. I swear I couldn't get a picture of him at all with that smile on his face. It was so weird. He might look super serious in all business though. He is the funniest guy I have ever met. He takes any conversation and makes you laugh. For example, this one time, I came out of the school building that I was helping lay concrete in. We had just finished, because you have to shovel the concrete up into this, you make this like volcano looking thing. You slowly mix the concrete, and then you would shovel buckets of it over, and you'd lay it down. So we had just finished that. He came in the building just a little bit, not to step on the concrete. He looked in, looked back at us, and he said, well, that was as hard as tying an ostrich to a hog. Now, that stunned everybody quite a bit, because you would look at it with confusion all over our faces. And we asked him, and he said, where did you get that analogy? He looked back at us, and he said, well, don't you think it would be hard to do? And after taking a few seconds to finally accept it, we all agreed that it was true. It would be very hard to tie those two together. And for the rest of the week, anything was hard. That's the phrase we used to describe it. Oh man, we still laugh at that too. Second, we have Marco Antonio LaRocca. Let me start off by saying that this man is 72 years old. But don't let that fool you. This man hiked an entire mountain. The mountain that we taught UBS, in fact. Except that he was down in a different part. Where we saw the grass fields over the edge, that's where he was coming from, because there was a house down there. He was down there evangelizing, telling these people about God. And so he wanted to be a part of that day's UBS. So we could see him, and he was within calling distance, so we would yell for him. But he couldn't hear us quite as much because obviously he was old, his hearing was going a little bit. So I went down there to get him from this people, which was a bad idea because I did not know much Spanish. I only knew basic greetings and everything. How to get to the bathroom was the most important one. And so I go down there without a translator. And Mr. Marco Antonio, he could not understand English. And so I'm going down there completely unprepared to tell him he needs to come up here and help us, but I had no idea how to tell him. And so eventually he understands what I'm saying. I say VBS and point up to the mountain where people are waving down at us. And I say, it's time to go. Somehow, he stayed behind just a little bit to talk to that guy, finish up what he was saying, and I go on because he gives me the thumbs up. I didn't know at all what he was saying, but he gave me a thumbs up, and I knew what that meant. That was kind of universal. And so I start my trek back up the hill. So he stays back to talk to the people, and I start my trek. I get up to the top of the hill, and he's there. He's just there. He's already talking to these kids. Like he has kids, 2 kids on his side, and he's just hugging them, talking to them. They were showing him their backpacks. And he's just there. I didn't know how he was there because he had started after me. And I wasn't jogging or anything, but I was going up the hill at a normal pace. A normal pace that a 72-year-old man should not have been able to get faster than me. To this day, I have no idea how that happened. No one could explain it. No one even saw him come up the hill. He was just there. Speaking, though, of him not knowing much English, this shirt came from the company that we went with. It says, "Thank you, you're welcome." All in one phrase. That was his thing. He didn't know much English, but that's what he knew. Anytime he was happy, you would know it, because he would say, "Thank you, you're welcome." It's just that. He wouldn't let you say, "For what?" or anything. You couldn't have even done anything for him. He would just say, "Thank you, you're welcome." Then he would start dancing. He'd just start clapping and dancing in a circle. It would be not even any music. He would just start dancing out of nowhere. It's pretty incredible for a man of his age. And even the kids, even the people native to Honduras, the people that have been living there all their lives, never knew why he did that. They even asked him in Spanish. He said, all he would say is, "God is good." And that's what he would go by. He wouldn't say anything else, just "God is good." Here is the MVP of this mission trip. My favorite dog in the entire world. Her name is Magenta. We named it after the purple dog from Blue's Clues. This dog was either sleeping or jumping in your lap to be petted. It never just jumped to be happy or productive or anything. No. It just wanted you to be petted. And if you started petting her, you better be careful, because you're going to be there for the next 30 minutes. If you try and get up, the dog, it's like, it'll come in your lap and it feels nice, right? You got a cute dog in your lap, you want to pet it, then it just drops. It's stationed there. It's not moving for the next half hour, or until it wakes up from its nap. So you better expect to be there for at least 30 minutes. And now that you have that image in your head, instead of me with 5 children on my back, I've never felt so torn away as I was when I had to leave those little kids. All those cute little kids and the endless, relentless tortillas. I mean, every single meal. What's for breakfast? Tortillas and bananas. Lunch, tortillas and guacamole. Supper? Oh god, this was really special. Seasoned tortillas with cheese on the inside and peppers. So you go into the kitchen and don't you dare disrespect the women in there, because they will beat you. You go in there and you say, "Mas," you're asking for more. And you should see the look on their faces though. If an adult comes in there, they say, "Por favor, mas." And so they would give them more, because it was an equal adult respect. Now a kid went in there. One time, I saw a kid go into the little cooking pot, right? He went in there, never saw him come out again. I think he went in there for more food. No one knows what happened. It just disappeared. And, but even the tortillas, you get tired of them after a while, but you really miss them. They were authentic tortillas. They weren't like the store-bought ones we have here, loaded with sugar and 50% plastic. They were authentic. They were made that day. And you can't beat that taste of tortillas. However, this was not the end of our excitement. On our 5-hour bus ride back to Tegucigalpa, which is the capital, we were stopped for over 2 hours. Now, as I said earlier, this is 104-degree heat. Therefore, stuck on a bus for 2 hours, not moving with wind movement, in a bus with no air conditioning, is not a good thing. There were kids going crazy. All the girls' hair were like, it was like a heat bomb went off. It was for the funniest reason. It was because of a riot. There was a riot in the street. They were burning tires, throwing things. We saw a SWAT team come up outside the bus. We had to back the bus up because they were telling us to. We couldn't take any pictures because it was illegal. You're not allowed to take pictures of the things. Now, obviously, the people who were causing the riot were, but it's not for the reason that you're thinking. It's no normal riot, because it's Honduras. You can't have anything normal. That's not how it works. It wasn't over, rights or politicians or anything. No, this was a student riot. All because they had to do half their school year over due to a storm. So all the teachers were out for half a year, 6 months. This is student power to a new level. It was incredible because after the riot was done with, they threw gas to get them out. And then they pulled up with these trucks and they had large fans because after that they wanted to get it out of the public area because it was on a road right outside the city. They didn't want all the gas flowing into the city, which would have been a bad thing. So they put fans, these huge industrial fans, and blew it and dispersed it. That way it didn't affect as much. And so we drove on by. We had a fairly normal ride home after that. We basically did everything coming there in reverse. And we made it safely. Not a single one of us got sick either, which was surprising. You go to a new environment and there's new bacteria, everything you don't want to get sick. Especially if there's 5 kids on you, putting their new bacteria on you. That was a little bit scary. Our leaders were worried that I was going to be the one that was getting sick. But we made it home safely, no sickness, no injuries. Came back with loads of cool souvenirs. For instance, I have this machete here. In Honduras, they use machetes to cut grass, especially in the villages. They didn't have lawnmowers. And so you see these guys out here squatting down like this, just whoosh, whoosh, and they could get it as even as anybody here with a lawnmower. They would take it like this and just whoosh. It took a lot longer because you'd get 15 men in a field about 3 lengths of this room, and just all of them. It's like a machine. All of them in synchrony, just and they go through a field. And so I got one of those machetes and brought a few back bandanas. I'm quite the collector of bandanas. So made it home safely, no sickness, no injury, with souvenirs. You couldn't ask for a better, picture perfect ending to a mission trip. Therefore, we have reached the end of our journey. But I feel like this presentation wouldn't really be worth it if I didn't tell you what I came away with, what lesson I learned. And that lesson is, no matter how much money you spend, no matter how much work and time you put into it, I never regretted what I did for a second. I never thought and said, oh, man, I could use that money on a car. Could use that money on college. No, I knew in my heart and then in my mind that this was money that was meant to be spent. This was time that I was meant to put into this project. But the reason I never regretted any of it was because of that smile right there. That little kid smiling. There's no better feeling than that. You come home with a picture perfect coming in, and you get to take that as a souvenir. More than the machete, more than the bandanas, that is what I treasure from our trip. It made me feel like I was where I was meant to be. I was meant to be there with those children, teaching them about God. So if you walk away with today with one piece of information, it is this. Stop looking at the pesky thorns in your life. All the things that distract you and poke you. Just stop worrying about those and be inspired by the roses. Find your smile during the day. Does anyone have any questions?
Were those high school kids or college kids who were protesting?
Both, actually.
Was it?
So most of the teachers in that area were off because of the storm. Some of their houses got destroyed. And so these kids were doing half their year over again. And it was all in this one area. I don't remember the exact name of the city, but we were driving through it, and yeah, they all had to do their half their school year over, and they were not happy about it. Any other questions?
What's your next trip?
Hopefully to Spain, actually. Our church does multiple mission trips. I travel with Palmetto Shores Church over in Socastee, and they do multiple mission trips. My next one, hopefully, is going to be Spain, because for my foreign language in school, I'm learning Russian. And so there's a lot of Russians coming into Spain for mission work. I want to experience that. Any other questions?
Honduras has a reputation for being very supposed to be one of the most violent countries in the world. Was there anything like that?
Other than the riot, we weren't in the city very much. The city is where all the action was. As a matter of fact, we were eating in Popeyes. We watched out the window, and there was this man. They were driving a bus. I assume it was for school. I'm not completely sure, but that door that you come out on a bus, he was hanging out that. Just driving down the highway, like that was normal. There weren't really authorities like police or stop signs like that. So it was very everybody kind of mutually respected their space and everything. Yes, and then once we get out to the villages, it's mostly actually Catholic. Like Catholic is the biggest religion in Honduras, and so most everybody, there was nothing to really fight for because nobody really had much. So once you get out into the villages, there's no violence. Nobody ever fought or tried to steal or anything. Yeah. Any other questions?